Moscone West. This interview is sponsored by Direct Defense. I'm your host, Ben Carr, and joining me is Jim Broome, President and CTO of Direct Defense. Jim.
Let's go, buddy.
Yeah, it's
Long
great
time
to
no
have
see.
you here.
Yeah.
Exactly, we were just talking about that. Yeah. What have you been up to?
Doing really good with Direct Defense, but also advancing in life there. Kiddos are getting older, so downsizing we were just talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. What do you think of RSA this year? How's it?
It's been a really good show. Definitely interesting to see some of the newer themes, especially with the new AI and infused products that are coming to market, and folks like CrowdStrike, who we're partnered with as well as your day job.
Yeah, Halcyon,
and working with Halcyon to solve the ransomware problem. So
yeah, look, it's been interesting, right? Like over the last several years, I think we've really seen kind of the emergence of AI as a thing. It certainly tends to be the theme of the show this year. Like, if you're not talking about AI, like you're probably not at RSA.
Yep.
I guess when I think about that, though, AI's been around for a long time, and when we think about AI, I've been doing some discussions with people, and the way I look at it is AI is the large bubble, but inside that bubble, we have generative AI, and then within that LLM, and a lot of people tend to be confusing them, but in the general scope of AI, it's been around for a while, it's been part of security, but why is it such a thing now? Like, why are we seeing kind of this emergence?
Well, on the defender side, you're definitely seeing AI modeling being applied to multiple products really to help start solving the lack of resource problem, aka humans. To actually, butts in seat is still a major problem. Depending on whose stats you're going by, we're still 700,000 placements short. So having AI to help defenders identify faster, better, stronger, and respond faster is definitely part of that modeling. But more importantly, the attackers are starting to spend a little bit of money these couple of years. We've definitely seen from a phishing campaign that cost the threat actor less than $10 for every successful hit last couple of years. Now they're up to $11, and they're in chat GPT enabling the the thing. So we've definitely seen, especially last year, right after Black Hat, towards that September timeframe, the amount of successful phishing went off the charts.
Sure.
Especially as a managed service provider, we're definitely seeing successful hits time and time again. And when we started looking at the quality of the campaigns being launched by the threat actors, like, all right, this is well written. Pretty much everything you're taught in user awareness training, 95% of that's been solved.
It doesn't work anymore.
Right. It's well written. It's articulate. There's no spelling errors. It's probably got your own vernacular because they profiled it and tuned it to you to look for your buzzwords to get that implied accuracy in there. And so we were definitely seeing the threat actors being able to take advantage from that side.
Yeah, I think you hit this interesting concept, and we've certainly been talking about it at Halcyon, of this, it's being done as a business, it's being done as a service, right? Like instead of security of old, where it was, script kiddie, somewhat malicious in nature, you certainly had nation state happening, there was this concern about, how security is actually approaching threats. Now it's really the monetization, right?
Yeah,
it's how they've turned it into a business, and I think, again, I feel like I'm beating the drum around Change Healthcare, but when you look at the value of that, you think this is all a business, and it's all about the monetization, and the more we monetize it, the more the hackers, the threat actors are interested in actually figuring out how to tune it more as a business and make it less costly on there, and an AI starts to do that for them.
I mean, teasingly, we all talk on the business side about margin. They're talking about margin as well, and pay off on that. So the fact that we can see them enabling some API lookups and some open sources on their side of the equation in the dark web to find legitimate login accounts into medical applications in your scenario there, to get a viable foot in the door, and then from there leapfrog into other solutions that are again being leveraged, and what's their path, what's their model. A lot of that is AI influenced.
So as we look at other areas of AI, right, deepfakes, like how real of a threat is that? Like, is that a thing, like, everyone needs to be worried about in their personal life as well as their business life, or is that harder than the media's making out?
Had you asked me that before 2 weeks ago, my answer would have been, it takes a lot of money and a lot of effort. Well, courtesy of Microsoft and the VASA 1 research, now with a live audio track and one picture of the person they're looking to interpret or impersonate, they actually have a viable model that gives a lot of mannerisms, and you can move and orient the face to look like a real human talking to you. The only caveat to that is it's a recorded track, but we're not too far away from live audio being fed into this model.
Yeah, and that's concerning, right? Because again, you mentioned that all the end user training we've done, it said like, look at the email, and if words aren't right, like throw that out, it's bad, right? So that's gone away. We've said, hey, if somebody sends you an email asking to change the account that they're transferring money into or make this payment, like pick up the phone and call them.
Right.
So that goes away, right?
Yeah, I mean, duplicating audio has been rather easy. You've seen picture or videos or movies from the 70s where they were using harmonics on a phone to sound like a female with a male voice, or vice versa. That's been relatively easy to do in real time. So always the voice validation was never completely okay. And so we've been advocating and preaching, like, by all means, turn your camera on, validate this. Yeah. Now with the VASTA 1, results, it's not too hard to come up with a valid script.
So
that would actually,
any strategies you're thinking about to combat that? Like, how do you get in the way of that? Are we talking about like some type of personal video MFA kind of scenario?
Kinda.
Like
I mean, that's
check
kind of
codes,
that's part of it. Or if you've got a live interactive validation process, so maybe a PIN code that has to be relayed. It's the audio sync is currently about a minute or two off from the reflection of the video. So I mean, we're getting down to seconds here.
So we're getting in this. It's almost in an AI versus AI competition, right?
Yeah,
so
I mean,
they're using deepfakes. We're going to use AI to then detect the micro differences that the human can't see, right?
Yeah. That's definitely one of the apply. Or even I'll give a shout out to normal security. One of the downstream effects of our current user awareness training is there's no more junk mail. It's all spam, and nowadays some CISOs actually reward their users to get implied usage of it, of everything. Report, you be the first one to report, and report the most. I give you a reward, maybe an Amazon gift card or something like that. Who handles all those now?
That becomes that's the noise problem,
that's
right?
the noise
so
down to the SOC. So using abnormal, they're using AI to circle back and actually pick that report up and actually help the SOC stay ahead of the volume of just 95% false positive rate. It's just Bob or Sally doesn't know the difference between a hostile attack and legitimate junk mail.
So pivot a bit to the MSSP side of the equation, right? Which you have a specialty in and you're focused on it. Yep. What can MSSPs help their customers do? How can you assist in kind of this emerging threat side from the AI attacks?
Well, again, number one is kind of our go-to on our strategy is actually be very, very consultative with customers, even at a at a service level. So sitting down and actually having a quarterly review of what the current threat actors are doing. So we talked about it yesterday with Adrian, but even the same thing of we saw thematic things coming from Scattered Spider last year that we were able to turn into early warning systems for ourselves and our customers. And just kind of going back to some basics in this scenario of if it doesn't look right, smell right, something's probably off, at least report it and let's come up with validation steps. But yeah, we're all actively looking for our own use of AI to actually accelerate our detection, to reduce dwell time, to get a more accurate response, and be able to actually help a customer. But at the same time, let's be practical and let's be real. There has to be some give and take in that scenario. So one of the examples we have is in certain verticals, customer can't actually give us full parity access.
Sure.
So I can't reset a global admin. In some cases, the threat actors are walking in with global admin accounts because they had compromised either a phone or done a successful phish and got those credentials. Now we're coming back like, hey, can you give me a one-off to help you? How do I call you? Because you guys are kind of slow on 2 a.m. on a Saturday getting people to actually respond to this event that I'm screaming about. So coming
How
up
are you seeing the customers interact with that? Are they willing to do that, or is that still something they're pushing back on?
No,
okay.
I mean, some of them will work with you. Again, some verticals will prevent them from doing that. So it's really on them to make sure their staff 7/24 to respond when we can't assist beyond.
So what I'm hearing is if you have an MSSP, you have to have a really good partnership, right?
It's
not about treating it as like outsourcing it, and I'm just going to have them do it, and it's a black box. It's about partnership, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what are you doing to adapt your defense strategies to kind of counter these new threats?
Today,
internally.
Internally for ourselves, let alone our customers, is on the AI front. Yeah, we're definitely looking at newer solutions. I mentioned abnormal for email email detection. Secondary one, they're obviously point solutions that are looking at solving a specific problem, aka where you work at with Halcyon. And then secondarily is really looking at detection models at scale. Using learn models to look for the attack patterns that we do as red teamers. The other half of my company is a penetration testing company.
Sure.
So we come up with creative ways to defeat a lot of these things.
You really got to know the attacker, know the threat, right? I think you mentioned that a little earlier in the conversation, was like kind of doing your due diligence, understanding what's going on. We produce the malicious quartile, where we actually look at those threat actors and break them down, and it's looking at the indicators and actually making sure that you're kind of focused on that versus focused on the vast amount of noise that's out there in the system.
Yeah, I mean, we even collaborated together, as service partners, with a specific organization that threat actor was able to get into their security device, the VPN, and work a way around until they found the one boxes that didn't have any protection on it.
Yeah, there was an interesting report that just came out, I think like today or yesterday, about VPNs are really non-existent anymore, right? Because
they're all getting smashed.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So what proactive measures can an organization take to kind of get in front of this, right? If I'm a CISO sitting butt in seat, and whether I'm doing this with my own team or I'm in partnership with a really good MSSP like Direct Defense, what should they look at? What are the things they should be focusing on right now?
Yeah, number one is step one, use your network. Let's see, sit down and actually have an open dialogue about what are the challenges we're seeing, what are the challenges you guys are facing. Direct action today is, there are a lot of people talking about AI models in their products today, so let's kind of sit down and, are they viable for you? Do you have the budget to
level set? What does that mean? Is it really an effective AI implementation, or is it just buzzwords?
Yeah, and so what's the real actionability of this technology? Can we operationalize it on our side and be a management partner for you in that scenario? But also have some just real frank conversations on here's things that still work, and it's not AI, it's a human. And so these are the compensating controls we can put in place just as a run state until we find a newer technology to help us.
So in general, when you're talking to your customer base, right, existing customers, do you find that they're pushing you as an MSSP to look at emergent technology and emergent threats, or do you find that you're generally kind of bringing stuff to them and there's a general unawareness, right? I think part of, because I'm assuming a lot of what you do is, there's a lot more small and medium business out there than there's large enterprise. And I think small and medium business, when I'm the CISO, I struggle a lot more with budget and availability of resources and staff to do that research. So I'm just wondering, what's the breakout? What's the play? How does that fit in?
Great question, actually. So it's really the maturity of the organization or the individual, because butts in seat as a CISO. If you don't have the time to go out and see what's available, then by all means leverage your partners to see what's coming to market and how can you actually handle that. We do find ourselves doing a ton of education. Just as an ongoing, because I have to stay competitive, just as a service provider, and be aware what's hot, what's not. One of the reasons why we're out here and looking at newer solutions on specific things like cloud security posture management, those type of things.
I was going to ask you, is there anything at the show that you've seen or any interactions you've had with any vendors where you're like, and you don't have to name specific vendors if you don't want to, you can if you want to, that you're just like, I hadn't thought about that. That's an interesting space or an interesting area, or is it still a lot more of the same right now?
It's not so much a lot more of the same. It's really I'll give shouts to Abnormal. It's a newer approach to trying to solve a problem we've had for a long time in the industry of, there's been the legacy vendors protecting anti-spam and work productivity, just a little bit better model that's come into play. And so we're seeing effectiveness and models, math models in this case, actually being applied and actually being highly successful. And same thing for the Halcyon product line. You guys have recently announced your visibility for FIM as well as just exfiltration detection.
File exfiltration.
And so just simplistic things that features that are very viable in the technology that we can take and operationalize as a service provider. Because I can tell you, as an incident responder, my number 2 request is intellectual property theft. It's not infected laptop. It's IP theft.
Well, look, my largest concern when I was going through an incident, certainly there's the incident you're dealing with in the instant, right? Mm-hmm. Like, okay, we had something go on. How do we handle it? But the higher problem is, what's gone out? What's the data? Like, how do I identify that? I think from a regulatory and compliance side, where we're seeing some enhanced, eyes on that right now, certainly with Tim Brown, but also, I need to know because I need to be able to categorize that, determine the blast radius, understand it, and
clock's running. So
as an MSSP, that must be one of the things you're trying to immediately figure out for your customers when something's going on.
Definitely giving it the old college try. Again, as you well know, the challenge with DLP today in its current forms is unstructured data versus structured data.
100%.
So, let's take the Microsoft ecosystem. You get it as part of your E5 subscription. Did you turn it on? Have you started marking up your documents? Because those customers make life easy. We actually have something trackable.
And DOP is a great example of technology that's been around for a long time, but it really, I guess, missed the implementation mark, right? Where it's been a struggle in the configuration, and you're right, structured versus unstructured data is super, super hard.
And then, honestly, the migration to the cloud is that reset. The reason why Microsoft has been very successful with it is everybody's putting their stuff out there now. So now we have a common storage platform, common naming conventions, or a common set of apps that we can now start hooking those into to actually be successful.
Jim, I want to thank you, man. That's been
Sure.
a great conversation. I think everybody learned a lot from this, so again, thanks for participating.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining Security Weekly. Visit securityweekly.com/direct defense RSAC to find out more. Check out all of our RSAC coverage at securityweekly.com/RSAC. Thank you.